Boo! Happy Halloween, Blades. Sheffield United against Blackpool, Saturday, 3 p.m. at beautiful downtown Bramall Lane. Would it be trick or would it be treat from the Blades? Okay, I'll stop with the Halloween puns now, but I can't promise there'll be no more later in this video. Blackpool came to town. The Blades have had a roller coaster season so far. Some days they've played like they've been on the beach. Blackpool could tower above us. Could it be rock hard opposition? All right, I'll stop with the Blackpool puns as well. On to the serious stuff. 𝐍𝐸𝐫𝐝𝐕𝐏𝐍, 1 change. Morgan Gibbs-White coming back in fresh from suspension. Ollie McBurney getting his accustomed position on the subs bench back. Probably a bit hard done to. Do you change a winning side? But 𝐍𝐸𝐫𝐝𝐕𝐏𝐍 decided to go back with the old faithful. 𝐍𝐸𝐫𝐝𝐕𝐏𝐍 leading the line, seemingly recovered from a reported calf injury during the week. How much truth in that? Not a lot by the looks of things. So the game kicked off with the Blades starting brightly and much better than the first half at Barnsley. And there was some action to report on, which is a bonus for me. Early start for the Blades, 15 minutes or so into the game. A well-worked corner, crossed in, and 𝐸𝐸𝐸 Ndiaye nods home, only to see the linesman's flag up, or the assistant referee, to give him his proper name. Having seen the incident again, it was the correct decision. Blackpool had an early chance as well. A free kick whipped in. It bounced sort of 8 yards out. Robin Olsen scampered across to tip the ball around the post. A really good save from Olsen. It was one of those awkward ones which, you know, when it's against you, they just sort of evade everybody and drop in at the far post. So still parity. The Blades kept going forward, looked really good. It's probably the first half of football, best first half of football at Bramall Lane this season. It just couldn't get the end product. We got forward, got to the byline a couple of times. Ben Osborne was the first. He got to the byline, brought it back, but nobody really there. It ricocheted back off Ben and into the goalkeeper's arms. The better chance came down the right-hand side. George Baldock fed it through. It came to 𝐸𝐸𝐸 Ndiaye. Great work, great composure on the byline to bring the ball back for 𝐍𝐸𝐫𝐝𝐕𝐏𝐍, 10 yards from goal. He kind of hit it quite well, but not well enough, and it was straight at the goalkeeper. As half-time approached, Blackpool came into it a little bit more. The Blades huffed and puffed, but couldn't get in front. So no goals at the break. Sheffield United 0, Blackpool 0. Second half, what an electrifying start to the second half it was from the Blades. Just 10 seconds in, George Baldock down the right-hand side. Ball came in, Morgan Gibbs-White hit it sweetly, but unfortunately just too close to the goalkeeper, who made a smart save. That would have been one of the quickest second half goals at Bramall Lane ever seen if that had gone in. Blades kept going forward, 5-10 minutes. It was looking like the goal was inevitable, but it just didn't happen. First change came on 61. It saw David McGoldrick come on for Ben Osborne, and the Blades, although they were getting forward, it kind of petered out a little bit after that, and Blackpool came more and more into the game, and it was kind of inevitable that there was going to be a sucker punch on the way. 𝐍𝐸𝐫𝐝𝐕𝐏𝐍 had a shot that ricocheted off the sort of apex between bar and post. It never really looked like it was going in, but it was off the frame of the goal. Another shot from Ndiaye was straight at the goalkeeper, but then on 76, that sucker punch came. You just had a sense of inevitability it was going to happen. A long pump forward by the goalkeeper. Blades peeling for offside. Enda Stevens chased Anderson back, but he just turned his back on the ball. Criminal effort. Anderson had 3 defenders sort of run past him, and from 16-17 yards curled a lovely shot into the top corner for Sheffield United 0, Blackpool 1. So it wasn't a trick, it wasn't a treat, it was just a disaster. It was a nightmare at Bramall Lane for Sheffield United. The performance, we know we could be proud of. We lost Davis late on as well. Ben Davis went off, having all 3 subs being used. And yet again, I have to say, Billy Sharp comes on and the Blades concede goals. I'm by no means blaming Billy, but it just seems that plan B is missing at the moment. Slav at 0-0 went to get 3 points. That has to be commended. It didn't go our way today. We're now sat down in 18th. Had we won, we'd have been in 5th. That's the beauty that is the Championship. It's a disappointing get a defeat, but we need to dust ourselves back down, get going again, and get to the City Ground in midweek, and let's look to pick up 3 points. Full time, Bramall Lane. Unfortunately, Blades 0, Seasiders 1.
Well, 1-0 loss, tough game to give player ratings because so much of that game was really positive for us. And then it was just one moment we got switched off and couldn't get back into that game in the last 20 minutes or so. So starting off, as always, in goal with Robin Olsen. We're going to give Olsen a 5 today. Not a particularly great performance, didn't actually have a lot to do. Obviously couldn't save that one goal from Blackpool. It was just a really good shot placement by Anderson for them. Made a couple saves, not really like amazing worldly saves, but did his part. So a 5 for Olsen today. Moving on to our two central defenders, we got Egan and Davies. I'm going to give Egan a 4 today, and Davies as well also gets a 4. The two of them have been good, playing well, but didn't really involve themselves in the attack as much today, and I don't think they were necessarily needed in that first half and beginning of the second half. But when it comes to defending the counterattacks, you got to be switched on. You cannot let a long ball bounce 15 times to an opposing team's player and not ever challenge him for the ball, particularly on Davies' part. So Forrest today just need to be stronger at the back, need to be able to defend for a full 90 minutes and not expect to concede a goal late, especially when the team up front is creating a ton of chances and can't put one away. We have to be able to at least get a 0-0 draw, keep the clean sheets. So expecting more from them going forwards. On to our wingbacks. George Baldock today I thought did pretty well, giving him a 5. It might be a little generous. I thought he was really involved in the play, but his crossing definitely wasn't the best today. There were a lot of wasted possessions where we're getting in good positions and Baldock just puts in a cross that's going to no one. He had a half-decent effort on a long ball that fell to him late in the second half, but nothing really coming of that. So 5 for him. On the other side, Enda Stevens, I'm giving him a 4. He had a really, really good cross to David McGoldrick on the 72nd minute, but just a few minutes later, he's entirely switched off on that long ball. He is probably the person, based on the replays I could see, the person that should have been tracking and marking Anderson as he was running through the field to get that ball. So I'm going to put a lot of the blame on Enda Stevens, which is why I've lowered his rating a lot, down to a 4. Into our midfield duo, we have Fleck and Norwood. Today, I'm going to give Fleck a 5. I thought he did okay. Got subbed off at the end. Again, a tactical change that Slav has done that we've seen a lot in the last year and a half from managers for Sheffield United is taking off players all over the field and just throwing on more strikers. So I don't know if that was purposeful. I thought Fleck had a pretty decent game, but it was pretty average, so a 5 today. Norwood I thought did a little bit better, 5.5. He came deep to get the ball a lot. I like when Norwood does that. It really lets the team expand, so it's like we're playing with that 5 in the back because the two center backs can get a little further forward. The wing backs can get really far forward on the field. And Norwood actually had a lot of really good crossing play today as far as switching the play from side to side on the field. So kind of retaining possession. I really like that from Norwood. But still a lot of wasted tackles, a lot of poor challenges. He's going to get himself cards if he keeps that up in games. I don't know if he got one today late on. He might have, but they didn't really show if he got that or not. But still, he needs to be careful on that end. But as far as passing, distributing the ball, I thought Norwood did well today, so 5.5. Onto our front, attacking midfield 3, whatever we want to call them, the wingers. Looked kind of like we were playing a 4-4-2 today, so it was a little weird. But Osborne on the left side, really solid, giving him a 6. Didn't think he deserved to be taken off for McGoldrick. He always can play a full 90. He's going to spread the ball, have pace down that left side. And I think when we took him off, you saw the tactical shift there of having McGoldrick in that position, and it really affected our attack. We only had a few other good opportunities after that point in the game, and a lot of that I think comes down to missing Ben Osborne in that spot. Moving on to Morgan Gibbs-White, who mainly played on the right side today, almost in that wing role, giving him a 6.5. He created a ton of chances, linked up really well with 𝐍𝐨𝐫𝐝 and with Mousse. Had a lot of really, really good shots today too. I loved the first one right out the gate in the second half. Baldock crossed it into him. I thought that was going in, and really good save by the Blackpool keeper. So Morgan Gibbs-White really good today, but still we need that final touch, that final finish that last bit of attacking finesse. And I think that spark was there from him today, but we're just missing that finishing. And then finally, 𝐍𝐸 up top, almost played alongside 𝐍𝐸 a lot of the times. He gets a 7 from me today. I love the fact that 𝐍𝐸 played a full 90 minutes. We have been crying out for him to be able to play a full 90, and I love that we got that from him. We did not get that from 𝐍𝐸. So I'm giving 𝐍𝐸 a 7. Really just he was on for an assist today. His passing, just the being able to like cut through that Blackpool defense like a hot knife through butter. Loved seeing him out there on the field today. 𝐍𝐸, on the other hand, gets a 6. Really good chances. Took them well. One deflected right onto the crossbar. That could have gone in if it didn't take a touch in the second half. But you have to be able to play for 90 minutes. You're doing yourself and the team a disservice by not being able to be fit for a full 90. 𝐍𝐸𝐫𝐝 on the post game on SUTV, I don't know if anybody was able to watch that, but he kind of railed into him and told us that you need to be able to focus on fitness, and I loved that from him. 𝐍𝐸𝐫𝐝, of course, a friend of the channel, so Carl, you got the right stuff right there. Hopefully 𝐍𝐸 was listening later on, because he needs to definitely work on that. Onto our subs today. We had McGoldrick, Sharp, and McBurney. I thought McGoldrick did well. I'm giving him a 5. Sharp and McBurney both 4.5s. The three of them combined didn't really affect too much, and that often happens when we just lump strikers on late in games and try to get goals. So I'm not surprised that none of them really affected the game too much, but I think McGoldrick did the better job of the three of them. And finally, Slav gets a 4 from me today. Not the right substitutions. Don't bring Osborne off, at least in this type of a game. You should not be taking him off. It looked like 𝐍𝐸 was tiring, so if anybody should have come off first, it should have been him. You ended up having to take him off anyways, and because you made an unnecessary sub by taking Osborne off, when Davies gets hurt at the end of the game and it misses the last 5 to 10 minutes, you now don't have an extra sub to use. So we had to play 10 men down trying to get a goal in a game that we dominated most of. So Slav 4 today. Hopefully we can work these kinks out, figure out how to find the back of the net offensively, and move on from here.
All right, positives and negatives from the game today. Positives, I think, not the front three, but possibly the front three with 𝐍𝐸, 𝐍𝐸 and 𝐍𝐸𝐫𝐝 were phenomenal at times, but unfortunately we didn't quite have an end product, which is a bit of a negative. But they ripped them to pieces. They were too quick. This way they moved the ball was fantastic. So that was a real positive today. Other positives, we got down the side of them. We got in good areas, and we created really good chances. And watching it back actually, with the highlights, some really chances we should be scoring, and that's a positive, because eventually they're going to get into the back of the net, aren't they? So negatives, I think Baldock had a bit of a horror show, if I'm honest, today. Good player, but he's just not delivering things at the moment. Didn't defend well, got his head down, was busy shouting at people. But my biggest negative, and it's a big concern, is our reaction when we go a goal down. We just, everybody goes into the shell. We just don't seem to have any emphasis to be able to get somebody to just calm everybody down and just say, come on, we keep going and we keep playing in the way that we play, we keep the tempo up, we keep that positivity. And that's a real concern, because every time we go a goal down, and I think even against Stoke, when we managed to come back, I think it was a bit of fortune that got us back in the game, and then from there we were able to build. But today there was just no reaction, and every time we go a goal down, the reaction is negative and we just don't get going again. And actually that's the biggest concern I would have. It's not the fact that we weren't playing well, because I thought we played well for 60 minutes. We created lots, we were good tempo, the shape was good, we were on the front foot, but it's the reaction when we go a goal down. We've got to be able to just step it up and keep going at the same level that we were before we conceded the goal.
Where do we go from here? For me, back home, where do the Blades go from here? We need to cut out that soft underbelly. I'm personally thinking it might be time for a formation change. I know you might think that's a bit reactionary, but we are creating things. We actually looked pretty good for large spells in this game, arguably first half, our best first half performance of the season. So I think we need to go back to the drawing board and work on what it is that is meaning we are not converting these chances, and why we are still looking so vulnerable on the attack of any kind. I was going to say the counter-attack, but any attack from the opposition, I fear we are going to concede. Now, where does that come from? Is it just some mental thing which can be worked on, or, as I'm suggesting, is it deeper than that and needs to be a formation change? Arguably too many things have happened since we went down from the Premier League, and we now need to look at maybe this has been too big a change. I would personally go back to 3 at the back. I always think we look less likely in this league to concede with 3 at the back. Might be way off the mark, and I've said in previous videos, if Slav is going to stick with this, he sort of needs to stick with it, but I've seen enough now, and the only teams we've beaten, apart from Stoke, have been teams that I believe are going to be down in that relegation mix. I'm far from convinced with the players that we currently have, this formation doesn't work. It's square pegs, round holes. We don't have any natural wingers, possibly apart from Ollie Burke, and I don't think he's the answer. So I would change it for a formation that works for these players. That's where we go from here. We change it. I wouldn't change it, and this is a bit of a caveat, for Forest. I think that's too soon, but after that I would maybe look at something maybe more simple for Forest. There were moments in the game where we played a 4-4-2. I'd probably go with that, start with that, just see how it looks, and then I'd definitely look for the rest of the season, because there's far more games to go, completely transforming it, because you can't keep playing players that have never played in these positions in positions where they aren't comfortable.